Betting on sports can be hard, but hiring Morgan & Morgan is easy. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/bestbets or dial #law, #529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/bestbets. This is a paid advertisement.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Busy hour on tap here. Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. You cannot be serious in 15 minutes with Mike Palm. Former NFL MVP Rich Gannon coming up bottom of the hour. Here we begin talking college football with Professional Sports Bettor Paul Stone. You can follow him on X at Paul Stone Sports, and he's on the Progressive Guest Line. Merry Christmas, Paul. How are you today?
Oh, doing well, guys. Merry Christmas to you and everyone out there listening and watching. Safe travels to everyone.
Mitch, I suggested this. I have to bring this up since Paul with us on Christmas Eve. I suggested this to Bill 80, that this would be a tremendous gift for Christmas gift that people would buy their friends or even for themselves early. That if we could have the college football betting guide on tape with Paul Stone narrating it, and they did some specs on it. They're thinking of doing it last year. They did a trial run with last year's edition. It came in just under 38 hours. But I think this would be a real stocking stuffer.
Well, I know this. When you start listening to it, you know that college football is around the corner when you hear Paul Stone talk. That's for sure. When you came on last week with us, a couple of bets that you gave out. You gave out Navy +7. That's now down to 3. You also gave out South Florida +4.5. That's today against San Jose State. Here at Circa, San Jose State's now down to -1.5. Wow, what's going on here with the point spreads, and how would you approach those games now, if at all?
You know, I still like South Florida plus the points. You know, we gave out 4.5 last week, but I think they're going to win this game. Okay. I mean, this South Florida team, as I explained last week, Byron Brown, their starting quarterback, who hadn't played since September, he's been practicing. I think he's going to start. He makes a lot of difference for the Bulls. So I still like South Florida. I think they're going to win outright. You know, Navy +3, that's obviously a lot different than +7. I still might play the midshipmen over Oklahoma at the +3 number, maybe just for a small pizza, though. I wouldn't get too carried away with that much of a line swing.
All right.
Well, let's talk about some new plays for you to put into people's portfolios. I was really happy that the powers that be could match up these two head coaches in Iowa State and Miami with our buddy Mario Cristobal and the great Matt Campbell. I knew only one thing going into the conference championship weekend and before that was that both of them weren't going to win as favorites to make it to their conference championship. And Cristobal was able to give up a big lead at Syracuse. Iowa State, this number was open to 3. It's been pretty steady now at 3.5 for a while. You like the clones here, Paul. Why?
Yeah, a lot of my recommendation, Mike, is just based on the fact that Miami, they enter the month of November. They're undefeated. They're ranked 4th nationally in both wire service polls, so they clearly control their own destiny. And as you indicated, at least the last loss that they had in the regular season, they proceed to lose 2 of their 3 final regular season games. Lose, first of all, at Georgia Tech 28-23, and then in that regular season finale, as you alluded to, lose at Syracuse 42-38. Not going to be in the playoff, obviously. Once they lost to Syracuse, they were pretty much done there. So I'm seriously questioning just how motivated, in these bowl games, as both you gentlemen know, so much of the handicap is trying to figure out which team is more motivated, which team is more enthused to be there. I don't think Miami's going to be enthused to play Iowa State on December 28th in the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando, Florida. I just don't think that was on their agenda this Christmas season. You know, they're an offensive team. Cam Ward, their quarterback, has indicated he's going to play, and the Hurricanes do have a high-octane offense. It's the defense that's been the sore spot against 8 ACC opponents this year. 5 of those opponents scored 31 or more points against Miami. Iowa State's got a pretty good offense. Iowa State, to be fair, if they would have beat Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, they would be in the 12-team playoff, or would have been. They lose that game, get destroyed pretty much by the Sun Devils 45-19. But I still think Iowa State's happier to be playing Miami then Miami is to be playing Iowa State. Give me the Cyclones plus 3.5 over the Hurricanes.
And here's the thing, Paul. I know what you said about Cam Ward, that he's going to be playing in this game. We have no idea how long he's going to play, right? What would you be surprised? Now, he might go out there and play 60 minutes and throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. We don't know. On the flip side, would you be surprised if he plays until halftime and says, that's good enough for me?
He could. It could be kind of a token appearance and just, get a half in and get to the safety of the sideline, that type of thing. To say he was there with his teammates and feel involved. But, Cristobal said we've got unfinished business. And I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe it's to win 11 games, which each game, these games are precious. You don't get a whole lot of games to play each season. So who knows? Sometimes these teams surprise us, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like you said, in today's college football, anything's possible. So that certainly is not an unlikely scenario that you presented there.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, pro bettor Paul Stone. You can follow him on X at Paul Stone Sports. Go ahead, Mike.
Paul, the Liberty Bowl in Memphis sees Texas Tech taking on Arkansas. That's your buddy Joey McGuire with Texas Tech, who played pretty well down the stretch. Remember, they got off to a rough start. They almost were upset by Division II school. They're catching 1.5 against an SEC team, Paul. You like Texas Tech?
I'll tell you, Mike, I think Arkansas opened it as a 3-point favorite here before all the portal subtractions. And I'm still scratching my head as to why Arkansas is still favored here. This is perhaps my favorite. It is my favorite selection of the bowl season. Arkansas, when you handicap these bowls, it comes down to information. And that information is who's in and who's out, who's going to play, who's not going to play. And looking at Arkansas, they've probably, if not them, Washington State, but I think Arkansas has been the most impacted bowl team by the transfer portal. They have, by my last count, 27 players in the portal, and that doesn't even count the players who are going to opt out to prepare for the NFL draft. So they're going to be really thin on offense. By my count, they will be minus 3 starting offensive linemen. Their tight end, Luke Haas, who is transferred to Ole Miss. Their top 2 wide receivers, one of whom, Andrew Armstrong, all he did was catch 1,140 yards worth of balls this year, so he's a big-time player. Also going to be without their top 2 running backs. So those guys have either entered the portal or opted out to prepare for the draft. And then defensively, they have some impact there as well. Defensive tackle Eric Gregory, he started 44 games in his collegiate career, so a lot of experience. Gregory has opted out to prepare for the draft. And linebacker Brad Spence, he's a guy who had 6 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks this year, a very active linebacker. He went into the portal. He is signed with the University of Texas. They don't take just anybody down there in Austin, so that guy's a player as well. You look at Texas Tech's side, hadn't been nearly as drastic as far as their players who won't be available, but one significant guy who won't be there for the game or who won't play anyway, quarterback Bayron Morton. He had shoulder surgery several days ago. He will not play in the game. So in steps true freshman Will Hammond, a guy that's much ballyhooed in the state of Texas, actually threw for over 3,900 yards last year as a high school senior at Hutto High School outside of Austin to lead all Texas high school quarterbacks in yardage. So a big-time recruit. They're really excited to see him play. Only threw 23 passes this year, so he's only seen light action. But I don't think that's going to be a huge drop-off. And a big bit of good news for the Red Raiders, running back Taj Brooks. Had been some talk that he might opt out. He rushed for over 1,500 yards this year. The most recent depth chart released by Texas Tech shows Brooks as a starting running back. I just think Texas Tech, I think they're going to beat Arkansas by double digits in Memphis on Friday, this Friday, the 27th of December.
Oh, that's a great breakdown. By the way, I'm looking, Westgate has a pick now. You guys are still holding strong at minus 1.5 over here at Circa.
Well,
and
until the people listen to this segment.
Then it's going to go bye-bye, I'm sure. Where do you think LSU is at with their heads going into this game against Baylor?
And I know nobody has SEC fatigue out there, and I say that in jest, but one of the SEC slogans that you guys have probably heard, it just means more. But in this game, I think it means more to the Baylor Bears of the Big 12. I mean, this is a team In Baylor, that last year they go 3-9. Their head coach, who ironically was formerly the defensive coordinator at LSU once upon a time, their head coach, Dave Aranda, clearly on the hot seat entering the season. They win their first game this year, then they proceed to lose 5 straight. So they're 1-5 at the season's midpoint. A lot of talk. Aranda's not even going to complete the season. He'll be fired before season's end. Baylor reels off 6 straight victories, 5 of those covers, 1 push, 7-5 regular season. So they rally out of nowhere behind quarterback Sawyer Robertson, who was the backup to start the year. Robertson can throw the ball. He averages over 8 yards an attempt. LSU not that great at defending the pass. They rank 84th in yards allowed per pass attempt at 7.6 yards per attempt. Plus, LSU is going to be without offensive tackles Will Campbell and Emory Jones, both expected to be first-round selections. Tight end Mason Taylor also opting out. I think Baylor's going to be excited to be playing LSU in the Texas Bowl. I think Baylor beats LSU outright there in Houston on December 31st.
There you go. That was some superb analysis, as always, Mr. Stone.
Paul, Saturday night. I mean, I got money. You got to be in Shreveport. That's just an hour-and-a-half drive down Route 20 for you. That's an 8:15 local kickoff time between 5 and 7, Louisiana Tech and the Army. Tell me you're going to be at the Independence Bowl, Paul.
I was at the Independence Bowl a few years ago when Miami played Louisiana Tech. It was a fine memory because I had a couple of winners on that game. But I think Louisiana Tech won about 15-0 or 16-0. An ugly game, but when you have 2 winners, it's a picture of beauty. But I'm not going to the Independence Bowl this year. I've been to lovely Shreveport, Louisiana on many occasions. I'm going to skip this one. Y'all give me a rain check.
All right, buddy. Merry Christmas.
Merry
That was
Christmas,
great.
Paul.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you guys have a great Christmas. Talk to you next week.
Yep. Up next, there you go. He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. You cannot be serious with the maestro, Mike Palm, coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. Yes, we are live here on Christmas Eve. No Paulie today. Mike Palm is in, coming up in 15 minutes. Former NFL MVP Rich Gannon on the program. Here we go now. Time for the maestro to shine with You Cannot Be Serious.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
All right, let's start out, Mitch. Friday night at Notre Dame Stadium. What a scene the Friday before Christmas. You'd have to Google the play calling of Curt Cignetti. I mean, this guy has been a media darling, and we give him credit for an 11-1 season with Indiana. But in the game, his team's 2 biggest games, he coached very, very conservatively in both against Ohio State and against Notre Dame. There he is, 2 hours before kick on the game day set, talking about how they kick other teams' rear ends. Well, I think there's 2 plays I want to point out in this game, and maybe one of them is you blame the people in the booth for Indiana, or whoever the replay people are. The second drive of the game, they complete that pass down to the red zone of Notre Dame. It was clearly a catch, but they rushed like they didn't want to review. And on the very next play, they throw an interception at the 2-yard line. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then on the very next play, give up a 98-yard run. That whole sequence of events that took really less than 5 minutes of real time really swung that game and put Notre Dame into control. But the decision to punt at the end of the game, I just don't get it. You're down 3 scores, 20-3. There's 10.5 minutes left in the game. Notre Dame's been able to run the ball. How many more possessions do you have? You're across midfield. It's 4th and 11, and you punt the ball. Our own Wes Reynolds was at the game, Mitch. Mm-hmm. They left the stadium after he punted there. They didn't even see the final 2 touchdowns because he knew the game was over once he punted with 10.5 minutes to go. Curt Cignetti!
You cannot be serious.
All right, let's fast forward to the next playoff game. That's Saturday morning at College Station, and despite Derek Stevens' warnings about the half-empty stadiums, they were all sellouts.
Yeah.
They were all tremendous atmospheres. 2 from this game. Let's start with Kevin Jennings, who really did turn the season around for SMU once they made the move to switch quarterbacks away from Stone. But the performance was a deer in the headlight here. And maybe the worst play wasn't any of the 3 interceptions, but on their very first possession, they've got 4th and 1 from the Penn State 19. He rolls out. I think he might have been able to run to the pylons, but instead he's trying to throw it to the fullback at the goal line. There's a hit and the ball is dropped, and you give the ball to Penn State. Next time he touches the ball, pick six. Next time he touches the ball, pick six. And then after the Franklin decision, you get the ball in the red zone, another interception. Kevin Jennings.
You cannot be serious.
We can't gloss over, just because of the result, James Franklin's decision. He's got SMU down 14-0 with 9 minutes left to go in the first half. They've turned the ball over twice. They're shell-shocked. They punted them deep. He's got 4th and 1 at his own 19, and he keeps the team on the field. What do you gain if you get it? You got the ball on your own 20. What do you gain? He goes 4th down. Allard gets stuffed, and they give the ball to SMU. They got him completely back in the game if they can score a touchdown there. It didn't happen. But James Franklin, small game James.
You cannot be serious.
I was stunned. This might be the worst decision than James Franklin. Watching this Jets-Rams game on Sunday with this interim coach, Jeff Ulbrich. By the way, the Jets are 32nd in defensive efficiency since they let go of Robert Salah. And you know who's 31st? The Bears.
The Bears,
So
yeah.
when you fire your head coach that's defensive coordinator, as I said, it doesn't go well on that side of the football. All right, Jets are up 6-0. They get the ball. First possession, Rams. They stop them at the 40. They punt the Jets to the 2. Aaron Rodgers goes on this 9-minute drive, and they score. They miss the extra point. Now, they get the ball back in the second quarter. There's 8.5 minutes left to go in that. You're up 8-0. Things are going well. You're mixing in the run and the pass. All of a sudden, you have 4th and 1 on your own 33, Mitch. 8 minutes to go in the half. You're up 6-0. Oh, we're going to go for it. Let's go for it. Because if we make it, we're on our own 34. I do not understand it. Of course, they run the ball. They get stuff. Takes the Rams 3 play, and it's 6-6. Somehow they lost that game, but they were in control of most of the way.
Oh, yes.
Weren't they? Didn't you feel like the Jets were always in control of that game until they weren't? And then it was over. Jeff Ulbrich.
You cannot be serious.
This is just a general thing, not anything specifically. But how can the Cleveland Browns sit there and think that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is an NFL quarterback? Cincinnati did everything they could to allow Cleveland to stick around in that game. A backdoor cover. What, they have 4 or 5 shots with the ball where a touchdown drive would have given him a backdoor cover? This kid cannot play. He was a deer in the headlights last year when they threw him in. They gave him this one. They had a shot to win that game if they go to Jameis. I know he throws a lot of picks, but they could have won that game. Maybe they're not interested in that. But Kevin Stefanski.
You cannot be serious.
I think they did it for draft order.
It must have been. To leave him in to play that entire game, it had to be.
They can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's the stance that I'm taking here.
All right, how about the Patriots? The Patriots came out like gangbusters. Every play worked in the first half. They built a 14-0 lead. Well, eventually, here come the Bills back in the game. Now, let's fast forward. All right, we're into the fourth quarter. You've got 6:45 to go in the game, Mitch, and you're down 24-14, and you're on the positive side of the field. Well, maybe it was 7.5 minutes, but it's 4th and 6 on your plus territory, and Mayo punts. I couldn't understand that.
Oh, that was wild.
I couldn't understand it. It goes down. You know this cowardly punt index?
Yeah, I love it.
Since they've kept that index, however many years, it's in the 92nd percentile of cowardly punts. Anyhow, they get the ball back, and now they got the ball inside the 5-yard line, outside of the 2-minute warning, right? And they end up with a 1st and goal with like 2:10 to go, and all 3 of their timeouts. All 3 of their timeouts. How you could ever run the ball ever another play? It doesn't make sense, which of course they still did. But they got the 2-minute warning. Then they get the pass interference calls. What did they run? 8 plays from inside the 5-yard line? And eventually they score from like the 12 because he took a sack. But they score, and they've got 1:20 to go and still have all 3 of their timeouts. Why did he onside kick? Why did he onside kick? I don't understand it. It makes no sense at all. Buffalo's never kicking another field goal. That's irrelevant to that.
Sure.
You kick it deep, you've got 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
Even they allowed a 1st down, the Buffalo still had to run a play at the end of the game. You might have had a shot to get the ball back at midfield. I don't understand what the percentage of onside kicks. You've got the ball where you're going to get Buffalo at the 50. You could have at least had a shot at the ball at midfield and maybe a Hail Mary. It made no sense, the strategy there. Jared Mayo.
You cannot be serious.
Okay. Last night. The last 3 are from last night. Darren Rizzi, he's not going to be. I think we can safely say he's not going to be the long-term solution.
Yeah, you're okay saying
in
that.
New Orleans. But the 2 interviews he gave last night, the one going into halftime, and then at the end of the game, the things he said are mind-boggling. At halftime, when asked about what the biggest problem was, he said it was the clock management on the last drive. He said, we didn't get the clock. What about not stopping the Packers at any point? What about letting them convert every third down?
Well, the clock management was like as bad as it gets, but you're absolutely right.
Well, you gave up 3 touchdowns besides the clock management.
Yes.
Maybe some of the problem was our covering downfield on play action, not allowing them. Okay, and then at the end of the game, he was marveled about how the guys never quit and all the fight in the team. Did I miss the final here, 34-0? They got outgained 400 to less than 200, but the fight was incredible. They never put up a point. This is an embarrassment. Darren Rizzi.
You cannot be serious.
I don't know how many people were watching the Sabres at the Islanders last night. Good for the Sabres to break your 13-game losing streak, so maybe you can enjoy this. Now, remember, the NHL's on a little Christmas break.
Yep.
No games between Monday, and they resume again on Friday. Okay? So Buffalo had lost 13 straight going in. It's 5-1 Sabres. They go to the under 14-minute timeout, right? This is for people that bet hockey in games that this affects. It's 5-1. They come back. There's just under 12 minutes to go in the under 14 timeout, and Patrick Waugh has no goaltender. He pulls the goalie down 5-1 with 12 minutes to go. I mean, people who are betting this stuff, right? People might have bet under 6.5 at a plus price in that game, under 7.5. Eventually, of course they give up the goal in the first minute. Then he puts the goalie back in. People, you have to remember this if you're going to be betting in game and the Islanders are down 3 or 4 goals, that he's going to pull this. I saw him do it down 4-0 last year as well in a game with like 9 minutes to go. Patrick Waugh.
You cannot be serious.
And then finally, let's go to the 76ers game. This blonde referee, Dennis Schrader.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you could argue Embiid wasn't charged. He threw his hip into him, all right? But the double T as he comes to talk to him about her and to throw him out, it's rare that the fans in Philadelphia get to see Embiid play. And now you're going to throw him out before the first half. But the Drummond situation was totally ludicrous.
Oh, wow.
You could have thrown Wembayama out. I would have been better with it with that ridiculous flop. But no, she throws Drummond out for no other reason, right? On a play that he did not commit a foul of any sort. It should have been a flop. And then has to go back and tell Nick Nurse, I effed up. I shouldn't. And bring him back from the locker room after he had ejected him and allow him to play in the rest of the game. I mean, this kind of stuff, I don't care if it's a woman, it's a man, your color, whatever. I mean, they got to take a hard look in professional sports and say, how long does this person go before they officiate another game? It's totally ludicrous. A ludicrous applying of the rules and a ludicrous emotionally handling situation.
Yeah, well done.
Jenna Schrader is her name.
You cannot be serious.
Very good. By the way, I'll expand on that coming up. Attention horse racing fans, get ready to play the ponies with our friends at First Bet opening day, Santa Anita Park. This Thursday, December 26th, California's premier horse racing venue, and Thursday's action features the Grade 1 Malibu Stakes starring Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan. Sign up today at firstbet.com with the promo code VSIN200 to score a 20% rebate on your bets for the first 60 days, up to $200. And here's a special offer for you this week only. New customers get up to $25 back if you bet Mike Somich's Santa Anita opening day best bet and it doesn't win. Don't miss out. Visit firstbet.com and sign up now. Former NFL MVP Rich Gannon next.
This is Follow the Money on VSIN.
Merry Christmas. Good to have you on board. It is Follow the Money here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Palm. He's in today for Paulie Howard, out today for the holiday. And how about this? Former NFL MVP Rich Gannon, typically on Wednesdays, kind enough to join us here on Christmas Eve. Rich, as always, thanks for the time as he's on the Progressive Guest Line. Merry Christmas. Thanks for the time. How are you?
Guys, it is so good to be with you. Thank you for taking me a day early, but a lot to talk about. And, of course, a crazy week in the NFL, and a lot at stake in a lot of these games. And, of course, my wife's already giving me a hard time. We've got games on Christmas. We've got games on Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays. I think my wife is tired of NFL football.
She's not the only wife across the country, probably, who falls into that category. So let's begin with the games tomorrow. Do you have a strong opinion on the Chiefs as a 2.5-point favorite at Pittsburgh here in this game?
Yeah, you look at these two teams. We're talking about two of the elite teams in professional football, really over the last decade, and for the Pittsburgh Steelers, from their perspective, 21 straight seasons without a losing record. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs; they've won 9 straight division titles. I mean, 2 of the best coaches in football, and Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin. And I just think when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, guys, and how they're winning games, I mean, why would you not think that they could beat the Pittsburgh Steelers? I think they will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're the better team right now. I think when you look at Pittsburgh, I think they have to win by playing complementary football. If they're off in one of those areas, whether it's the kicking game, whether it's defense or the offense, they're going to struggle. And I think when you look at what they want to do offensively, they don't want Russell Wilson throwing the ball 35 times a game. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to run with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. They want to be able to take their shots down the field. I think Kansas City matches up with them pretty well defensively. I think the Chiefs are getting healthy at the wide receiver position. Getting Hollywood Brown has helped. I just think that you get the sense this is very reminiscent of what we've seen in years past, the last 2 years, where they start to figure things out in December, they get hot in January, and they win a Super Bowl in February.
That sounds about right. We're watching it play out right in front of us yet again this year. So if they win this game, that's going to wrap up the 1 seed overall in the AFC. How do you think Andy Reid and company will approach Week 18 against Denver?
Most every starter will be inactive, as many as they can possibly have, and the ones that are active probably won't play. So you have to field a team. You have to have someone to go out there and cover kicks. But I've done some games in the past when we were into Week 17. Now we're into Week 18 with Andy Reid. In fact, I tell you a crazy story. Several years ago, I was doing the Chiefs and Chargers game. It was the last game of the season. The Chiefs had locked up the number 1 seed, and Andy Reid came into the production meeting on Saturday, and he handed me the first 15 plays. He said, "Here's our first 15 plays for the game." So he was pretty relaxed. Obviously, he knows me. We've got a relationship. He knew I wouldn't share it with the other team.
Yeah.
But that's how he was. And listen, he can go out and beat you with his backups. That's how good Andy Reid has been. But I'm sure he'll shut everybody down if that's the case, when we get to Week 18.
Rich, I want to talk about the big game in the NFC North with the Packers going to Minneapolis. We know that the Vikings built a big lead at Lambeau early in the year and had to hang on for dear life in the second half. I want your thoughts on overall who you like in this game. Minnesota just a short 1-point favorite. And then as a follow-up, the concept of quarterback whisperer that we're hearing now, right? That Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer. Arthur Smith was a quarterback whisperer for Tannehill. And when that relationship ends, if a player goes to another team, the quarterback's performance is going to suffer. And you may comment on that question with whether you had somebody in your career in the NFL that had that kind of a difference for you. But first, your thoughts on Packers-Vikings.
Well, I think it's an incredible matchup, right? You talk about quarterback whisperers in this game. There's 2, right? I think Matt LaFleur is the quarterback whisperer for the Packers. He's done an amazing job with his young quarterback, Jordan Love. He's gone 5 straight games where he hasn't thrown an interception. Guys, it's very reminiscent of what we saw from him a season ago, where he struggled a little bit early, but then down the stretch, weeks 11 to 18, he threw 18 touchdowns and just 1 pick. So I think they're peaking at the right time. You look at Josh Jacobs, you look at, that scrimmage they had the other night against the New Orleans Saints. I mean, it's that wasn't a fair fight. We have weight classes in boxing, and that's why you don't have a heavyweight fight to a lightweight. But that's what happened in the game between the Saints and the Packers. This one is going to be a great matchup. We've got 2 defenses that are playing well, 2 defenses that can take the ball away, 2 quarterbacks that have been really good this year. I do like the Vikings at home. I think it's been a magical season for them. They've won 13 games for the second time in 3 years with Kevin O'Connell, the other quarterback whisperer. And his quarterback, Sam Darnold, has been the comeback player of the year. Now, I know there's all kind of parameters around that award this year, but he's certainly been a guy that's come back from adversity. When you look at the struggles he had with the Jets and the Panthers, and even going to San Francisco last year and backing up Brock Purdy. But I'm just so happy for him and his success. That's going to be a great game. It'll probably come down to a kick, but I do like the Vikings at home. I just think that you look at Brian Flores, they're getting after people. They have the highest percentage of blitz. 40% of the time, they're bringing some type of 5 or 6 man pressure. They do a great job getting the ball out. They've got pass rushers. They've got cover corners. So I do like the Vikings at home in that one.
So do I. Let's follow the money here on VSiN. I bet Vikings money line earlier in the week. Our guest, former NFL MVP, Rich Gannon, he's on the Progressive guest line. What did you make of Michael Penix's debut for Atlanta? And how do you see that going for him in a second start Sunday night against the Dan Quinn defense and the Commanders?
I thought it was the ideal situation to break out your first-round draft pick from last spring. And I just think that, you get 2 pick sixes, your defense, a pick six in the second quarter, a pick six in the third quarter. I think they played well around him, which was really important when you're trying to, get your quarterback off to a good start. The numbers were modest, but I thought his anticipation was good. I thought he got better as the game went along. You could see his arm talent clearly. This guy was a runner-up for the Heisman Trophy award last year, and you look at those numbers the last 2 years, guys. He led the FBS in passing yards the last 2 seasons, just shy of 10,000 yards. So this guy can chuck it around. And I think this offense is going to continue to evolve, and I think they've worked themselves right back into this race in the NFC South. Very interesting when you think about them beating the Giants and the Buccaneers losing to the Cowboys. But I still think the Bucs, when you look at what's left for them, the Saints and the Panthers, I still think the Bucs will win the NFC South.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You played for 4 different teams in your NFL career. I'm asking this for a reason. I'll follow up with it. Did you ever have any extra motivation when you played one of your former teams?
All the time. I mean, there's a reason why you're not playing for your former team, right? If they loved you enough, they would have kept you. So I was traded from the Minnesota Vikings. I was a free agent when I left both Washington and Kansas City. And anytime I got the opportunity to go back and play those teams, all I wanted to do was drop a house on them. I just wanted to get nice against them, And I think anybody, whether it's, a quarterback, a position player, it's a coach in the NFL. Anytime you go against your former team, it has a very special meaning. And the last thing you want to do is go out there and play poorly.
Yeah. So we had a guest on last night who has covered the Saints for a long time, Mike Detillier, great dude. He said that he thinks that Derek Carr is going to play this Sunday for the Saints, as they would go against then his former team in the Raiders. What do you think that would mean for him personally then to take on Las Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of great years there. I think he's disappointed with how it ended. Obviously, they moved on from him, and they have struggled since, right? They haven't really been able to find the quarterback. Mm-hmm. When you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, you look at this year with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, the Raiders will be in the quarterback market this offseason. So, I think there's certainly incentive there for Derek Carr. I don't know if Derek Carr is going to be back in New Orleans, guys. I mean, there's some speculation about his future in New Orleans when you look at the money he's supposed to make and the fact that they're going to be hiring a new head coach. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Derek Carr. Derek Carr, if you get him on a team that's really good and you give him a good offensive line and a clean pocket, he can be very effective. He's got real rare arm talent. But if you get around him and you can push him up inside the pocket and you can hit him a little bit, his skill level drops off significantly. I always say if you take a great quarterback and you knock him around, he becomes a good quarterback. You have a good quarterback, you knock him around, he becomes a very average quarterback, and that's been the case throughout most of Derek Carr's career with both the Raiders and the Saints.
Real quick, we got about a minute left, Rich. Colts are at the Giants, laying a big number 8, but I think this Colts team is the most disappointing team that should have made the playoffs with the talent they have. What do you make of Anthony Richardson? The guy's a beast. It's really hard to tackle him when he runs the ball. He's got arm strength. Do you think he'll develop into a top-tier NFL quarterback?
I don't. Look, when you're completing 47% of your passes, I don't know how you survive in the NFL. And I think it's been a real struggle for the organization. They're trying everything they can to help him with some short, quick throws and screens and just, anything they possibly can to help him. He can shoot the ball down the field. He's very athletic. He reminds me a little bit of Dante Culpepper, but doesn't have the accuracy, the anticipation. Guys, there's no way you can possibly survive in the NFL completing less than 50% of your passes.
Yeah, I would totally. You agree, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, same here. Rich, that was awesome as always. Merry Christmas. Thanks for the time. Enjoy the next couple of days with your family, okay?
You guys are the best. Have a great one.
There you go.
Merry
Former
Christmas,
NFL MVP Rich Gannon on the Progressive Guest Line.
I would bet that he could have played better than a half a dozen quarterbacks. The shape he's in, you talk about recycling head coaches that are failures. If you watch this NFL quarterback play, you just keep recycling guys that didn't make it with one team.
I know. You expected him to turn it around. Crazy. The Packers became the first team in history to pull this off last night. I'll tell you what it was next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So this is how impressive the Green Bay Packers were last night. They won in a shutout by 30-plus points. They had more than 400 yards of offense. They only allowed the Saints, to go for fewer than 200. Green Bay had 0 turnovers, 0 fumbles, 0 sacks taken, and 0 missed kicks. No team has ever done that in a single NFL game, courtesy of OptaStats on X. That was pure domination. Game was over with. You could tell me the second quarter, and I'd say, okay, I'm not going to disagree. Done by halftime. Many problems there watching the Saints. They've had so many problems this year. They're not a dead team. They just have had countless injuries and not a ton of talent overall. But Green Bay is an upper echelon team in this league, and I can see them coming out of the NFC. Are you that strong on them?
The path. I just keep thinking about the path. So, well, the 5-6 is going to be probably determined by this game this weekend. Because if they lose, they're going to be the 6. Because Minnesota or Detroit will be the 5. Whoever doesn't win this, right? So as the 6, they're going to play the 3, which will likely be the Rams. Can they win in LA? They have already done that this year, right? I mean,
but that's a tricky game.
Well, it's always a tricky game.
Yeah.
Because I would look in futures markets and try to make an argument, can the Rams win the NFC? Are they good enough? Look, the NFC games were so good last year, Mitch. The Rams gave Detroit everything they wanted to in Detroit.
Yes.
The Bucs gave Detroit everything they wanted to. The Packers should have beat the 49ers in San Francisco. The Detroit should have beat, you know what I mean? Every game was a great game in the NFC playoffs, basically, last year. Now, the Rams healthy offensively are really tough. I mean, those receivers are bigger and tougher than you think.
Oh, man. How much do you love Puka Nacua?
This kid's a tough kid.
He's so good.
He makes some of the best catches nobody talk about. I mean,
but also he'll go and get bloody and he'll muck it up with some defenders and throw his shoulders around, chip block.
I went back and I watched a replay of the 1992 NFC Championship game this week, which was Dallas wins 30-20 at San Francisco.
You had a big hankering for that game or what?
Their first Super Bowl year. No, because I was thinking about Dr. Chim Tunney dying.
Oh my God! Wow.
And my favorite game of all time was the '82 NFC Championship, the catch.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Right. So I said, and then it was a seed change moment for the '80s, and then that game 10 years later was a seed change moment for the '90s in the NFC. Right. Dallas took back over.
I like how your brain works.
So I wanted to watch that game. I go back, and Novacek was a big possession receiver. He didn't have a great game there. Michael Irvin went over the middle time and time and got blown up. I mean, he wasn't just this down the field receiver, right? And on third down, he was a tough guy.
Oh, for sure.
You mentioned him, Nacua, going over there and getting belted. Irvin took a lot of hits, but he was a physical receiver and gave out a lot of punishment. But he took a lot of hits over the middle. You don't see the wide receivers go across the middle like that. But they're very tough. Obviously, you miss Aaron Donald when he retires defensively, right? I mean, but they've trudged along. They beat San Francisco in that low-scoring game. They just beat the Jets in a low-scoring game.
What do you make of that, by the way? Because in the game previously to both of those, it was a 40-plus point shootout over the Bills. They outscored them. Then the defense turns it around. Niners still have weapons on offense. They didn't do anything.
Nothing.
The Jets were playing much better, maybe peaking on offense. Yep. They didn't do anything on offense in that game. Is it possible the defense is rounding into like playoff form and it's going to be like, is this something we're talking about in 5 weeks where it's like, oh my God, the Rams defense, I can't believe where they're at right now.
Well, they've won 2 low-scoring games in a row. Obviously, the Buffalo one wasn't, and that game went back and forth. But they got control of that game with that blocked punt, right, where they got the 2-score lead, and then they could play from in front. So that they never had to really confront Josh Allen, right? With Josh Allen with the lead, you have to stop him on any one possession. So that becomes a very interesting game. Now, if they beat Minnesota, there's a chance that they could, if Minnesota loses to Detroit, then they could get the 5 seed, which would be go to Tampa or Atlanta. You think Tampa's tricky as well.
Oh, I know they're tricky.
So if they win that game, then you'd like the matchups against Philadelphia and Detroit when you get to the divisional round?
I think Green Bay can go to either Philly or Detroit and win, or it's like the game is in question 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. With a fully healthy Hurts, where do you rank the Eagles in the NFC?
Well, they might be number one.
I think they're number one, given the
Probably.
state of Detroit's defense.
Yeah, I would have to probably put Philadelphia over that, yeah.
I would say they're the best team, but they're not going to. I don't think they're going to get the one.
They're not.
They're not going to get the one.
No, Sunday was huge.
Yes, it was awful to lose that. To lose that game when you get that lead early, right? And
Five
Washington
turnovers.
did everything they could to lose in the first half.
No doubt.
Everything they could to lose in the first half.
The current form with the Lions defense, how many teams in the NFC do you see that unit slowing down? I think Tampa will move the ball on them. I think the Rams will move the ball on them. I think the Vikings and or the Packers will do it. And I'm pretty positive the Eagles would be at the very top of that list. Are they stopping Saquon Barkley and the running attack for the Eagles? Are they going to do they have an answer for A.J. Brown? How? Who's going to do it?
No.
Unless they get a ton of guys back from IR all of a sudden?
They have to be really efficient offensively.
Oh,
right?
they have to be flawless almost.
And they can be. We've seen them be flawless.
Yeah, they almost were on Sunday.
I mean, right? You have these games where Goff has 1 or 2 incompletions.
Yeah,
Think about that.
That's pretty
Think
good.
about that. Because when they get the running game going, he's got so many easy throws.
Yeah.
And they don't drop the ball, Mitch. They have the least amount of drops in the NFL. Right? So
This was the year, Mike. This was the year the Lions were going to win the Super Bowl.
if they were healthy.
If they were
Hutchinson
healthy-
didn't get hurt, if the secondary didn't get banged up.
I'm telling you, we were looking at an all-time team.
And I think in that first game against Minnesota, the people said it came down to the end of the game. I still thought the Lions were clearly the better team when they played in Minnesota.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It took Minnesota's best shot to keep that game close.
Yes.
So I agree with you. I thought they were the best team in football healthy. It's not over.
No.
It's not over.
Because, again, if they get the 1 seed, how big's that buy for that
They
team?
might have been the best team in football last year, and they just didn't get there because of the second half.
Not going to disagree. I put it this way. They went to KC in week 1, beat the champs, and you're going to tell me that would have been tough to do in the Super Bowl again or impossible to do? Killing Mahomes and Reed it seems like mission impossible, but the Lions were right there capable, along with San Francisco could have last year.
San Francisco had control of that game.
Of course they did.
And it's always a turnover, right? Philadelphia had control of the game the year before.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Hurts drops the ball.
That's exactly right. Right before halftime, right?
They were up 10 with the ball.
Niners are driving down the field. A McCaffrey fumble, inside the red zone? Are you serious? Come on, that doesn't happen. So, I think the NFC, I'm glad you brought that up because I did not think about that for a good minute. Last year, the NFC playoffs were as good as it gets. That's why I'm a little afraid this year. On paper, it should be the same exact way, but you know what happens when we usually think like that.
I actually think the Packers are the most complete team. I think the Eagles are the best right now, if Hurts is healthy. And, you got some really elite offenses. You talk about Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, all in that division, Philadelphia, the Rams, and Tampa's got a very good offense, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Underrated.
Did you watch that game Sunday night?
I did.
It's one of my favorite games of the entire year.
Did.
It was a slugfest. They beat the daylights out of each other. You're talking about Michael Irvin years ago. Every receiver in that game across the middle, bang! There's another shot. The Cowboys secondary was awesome. Vita Vea with that
hit.
My God. I felt that through the TV. Oh, Jesus! Enough. It's Christmas, buddy. Take it easy on the little guy.
It was an incredible game.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and it just kept going.
Yeah, that's right.
Think about this. If the Cowboys don't touch that block punt against Cincinnati, they're already in Aubrey field goal range with a minute to go in the game. They're still in the playoff race. Think about that.
Oh, they would be. They would be.
They'd be 8-7. They'd still be alive if they don't touch that punt.
You ever seen anything like Aubrey?
What a weapon he is. You wonder where they're going to give him a shot. They're not in it anymore. Like, where are they going to give him a shot to break the record? Don't you have to try to give him a shot?
This year you might as well.
Right?
Right? You're not going to make the playoffs. Halftime, I know it's got to be a perfect storm, but I would say this, too. Like, if Mike is facing a 4th and 1 and it's a 70-yarder, just go for it.
Right. Why not?
Send him out there and see what he has. I want to see the record.
He doesn't miss from beyond 55.
Oh.
And so they're hitting the net.
Oh, my God. Where do you think he would be good from in a free kick situation?
Where he could hit the line drive. You could probably get him from 68 or 70.
I would think.
I was surprised that LaFleur brought in McManus for 56 in the cold last night. They're up 21-0. I thought, a safe play. They're just putting here. Trotted him out very confidently. Yep. Bang, right through.
Right through it. Yeah.
And here's the guy that might have gone to jail right? I mean, they had the allegations on the plane from Jacksonville to
right.
England, and then all of a sudden they dropped the suit and he's back.
Do you love anybody in the AFC?
I mean,
was Rich Gannon right?
I still don't love Baltimore's defense. I still think they're flawed there.
I don't disagree. All right, I would recommend that you go and get the brand new VSiN Watch app today. It's free. Get it on your Apple phone with the Apple App Store. If you have an Android, it's available on the Google Play Store as well. You get replays of all the shows, 24/7 live access to audio and video streams as well, and the ability to stream directly onto your smart TV for a big screen experience.